I'ma help the people close to me. They help the people.
All right, y'all, we back with another Unguarded podcast presented by WEVOLV. We got Julie on the podcast this time, the introvert herself. Shout out to Julie. But we got Coach Yoann. I called him behind his back white chocolate a little bit. He had a little bit of swag. He never knew it. So I'm going to let him know a secret in this podcast. He is a coach at Lyon in France. I was with him for a short stint. Julie played for him this past season as well. Did things in the W. Very clever coach, really informed, learned a lot from his scouting sessions before games. So respect for the short time I was with the man. But appreciate you, Yoann, for coming on and chopping it up with us and getting a little unguarded to talk about some things in our industry.
Well, hi, and thanks for having me. Thanks for your words too. Appreciate you too.
Definitely. So we'll start off first. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Brown Sugar. That might be, I don't know. You never seen that one, Yoann.
No,
Anyway, one of the
I watched
questions we like to ask is when you first fall in love with basketball? What's your starting point of being like, I love this game and I want to work in any capacity, whether playing, coaching, etc.? How did that all start for you?
Um, well, my parents built a club in France, so it was from the very young age, and they were saying that when I was a baby, I was in the gym and I was crying when I was hearing the basketball. So that's probably at that moment, but I don't remember it. I think it's more around 5 or 6 when you, or maybe 6 or 7 years old when you play your first games, and I was waiting with my bag and my ball. In front of the entry door, just ready to get out of the house and go play. And I felt at this very young age that that was the only thing I was thinking about during the week. So it was special.
Definitely. That's what's up. And you played a little bit before you got into coaching. I know you started coaching pretty young, like
Yeah,
19 or so, but
yeah.
your playing
I started.
career.
Sorry, no, no, yeah. I started coaching at 19, but I played until like 23, 24. Not professionally though. I was not good enough. Just national three in France. Then maybe if I kept playing, I could keep improving, etc. But I was not earning enough money to like really put food in my plate. So I stopped playing and I focus only on coaching.
What's that feeling? Because you know you have athletes that made it pro, but we do meet a lot of people in the business that it's kind of that storyline. I played at this level, but then I wasn't good enough to go pro. I wasn't good enough to make that next step. For you as a coach and loving the game, what does that feel like to be now in the position that you are around the athletes that have been able to make it pro? What's kind of the thoughts and things that go through your mind um, along the
At,
journey of being in that position of like you didn't make it pro, but now you're coaching pro? And do
yeah.
you feel, how does that make you feel around those athletes in general?
Well, at the beginning, when I started coaching players that were earning money for that, it was intimidating a little bit because I was not able to do that. And yeah, I was listening a lot to their opinion, and that made me somebody unsure a little bit. But it's like everything, the more you work, the more you have experience, the more you make mistakes also, and then the more you know your shit, even if it's not, if you're never sure about anything, like you cannot be sure about anything at the end of the day, but you must follow some of your ideas and principle. And so now it's completely different, but also because I knew a lot of success in my career so far, and I'm very lucky for that and grateful. But now it's like we're just working together. There's no intimidation or me being shy about anything. No, and I've learned through that process that the more straight and direct and honest you are, then in your coaching with the players, then the best it is at the end of the day. So I'm trying to be like that. Sometimes it's not easy, sometimes I can't, but I just try to be honest, and there is no, like, we're just working together now, that's it.
Hmm. What do you think is some of the key ways you see the game different than the player? There's the stuff where we say, "Oh, they didn't play," on the player side, like they didn't play, so how could they know? But obviously, there have been very successful coaches that I wouldn't say didn't play. Like they maybe didn't play go all the way, but they played to some extent. What do you think are some of the things you see, the way you feel the game from a different perspective that maybe as athletes on the court we don't really realize as much?
So to start this answer, I would say that I never considered myself as somebody that didn't play, because I was practicing every day and I was really involved in basketball, but I stopped very early, and yeah. But the part that I don't know and I will never know is how is it to be an athlete where you have pressure, where you have an agent with you that had to negotiate the contract for you, where you move from a team to another every year. All this professional part outside of the court, I would say. Then yeah, I don't know that feeling as an athlete, but the 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 fact that you have to practice every day, play through fatigue and injuries sometimes, and yeah, that part I consider I played, but to answer your question, the video, the analytics, and also the study of the opponents, the coaches' clinics, the experience, the stuff I tried on the court basically, and see the result of it in my different teams. Well, all these aspects, are making a difference, I think, in the
Hmm.
way I see the way we coaches see the game, and are able after to teach things.
Yeah, with because you were doing analytics for the Chicago Sky, right? You were a video coordinator
Yeah, I was
doing
video
it
at the beginning. I was video coordinator, and after a little bit player development, and I finished assistant coach. So I touched a lot of
everything.
different things. But it's more even now, like as a head coach, or even before when I was a head coach in France somewhere else, just watching the stats, watching the analytics, and that some platform are giving, like Instat or with Sports Code, whatever. Then you also see some things that are like the main thing, for example, is the lineups when you have combination of players on the court together. um, you realize with the numbers how efficient this lineup can be, these four players together, etc., where players maybe have no clue about it. They
Hmm.
just sometimes could feel that, yeah, they want to play with their friends or people that they feel good with on the court. It's probably working, but the numbers are there to tell me if it's really actually working or not. And sometimes a great scorer is maybe not efficient for the team if she's not around some specific players, and that kind of things about analytics that are, yeah, interesting.
How many? I mean, it's hard because it's not like every coach in pro or college, but in our space, let's stick to pro women's basketball in Europe. How many coaches do you think are approaching things in that way? Far as actually paying attention to building a roster based on data and based on if this mix of players will lead to success for the team.
Well, I think first that it's when you build a roster, it's really hard to know before it's going to work, if it's going to work or not, because and I don't think the analytics can really show you that before you really have them in the team and see how it
Mhm.
goes through the season. um I think now that I would say half half. Like half of the coaches are really oriented with the, let's say, it's not new technology, but let's say all that video analytics aspect, etc. And I would say half are more like old school. It's just about feeling and yeah. Now the main risk, the biggest danger, I would say, is to focus only on one thing. Like if you focus only on your feeling, then it's dangerous. I think if you focus only on analytics, it's very dangerous. I think the best coaches are the ones that are able to take all the informations they can and mix it up and trying to, have always not zoom on the action, uh,
How much are you paying attention to the personality, the leadership style, like all of those elements? I know when I came to France was the first time I was on the phone with coaches talking before I arrived to a team, which is shocking actually that they don't even call the player before they hire them. But like how there's not a lot of resources yet. I think people are becoming more aware, but how do you manage that piece of the puzzle? Because it's a big factor, I think.
it's clearly the hardest thing, by far, to me, is the how people are, as human being a little bit in as leaders in a team. The thing that I'm doing every time is that I have at least around 1 hour, 1 hour and a half conversation with every player that I sign or every player that I'm interested in, and we talk about. I want to know how they see the game, how they see themselves, also, if they understand really how we work here, and could that match with their mindset, and just trying to have a feel about what type of human being they are. That's the main thing. And after, to answer your question more specifically, Julie, I pay attention to leadership more and more every year. Like I feel like more and more every year, and if it's one thing that almost sure now, it's that the leadership in your team, it what makes you successful at the end of the day or not. And it's hard to find great leaders sometimes, but you can also help them grow. So yeah, it's definitely something I'm paying like a lot of attention more and more with the years. But sometimes, it's different types. Sorry, it's different types of leadership. Um,
Mhm.
like sometimes you can have a leader that is seen as a leader by the group, but that doesn't have a good relation with you, for example, and you have to manage that, which is hard. Sometimes you have a leader that is that you see as a leader, that she does everything you want as a leader, but the teammates don't respect her or don't really listen to her. So yeah, that's hard. I think you have to find leaders that are accepted by the group first, and then make sure you're good with them so they understand what you want to do. I think it's in that order, I think.
Mhm.
Before we jump into the infamous agent topic, um, I wanted to ask two more questions, but the first one was really about what changes when you cross cultures as a coach. Because again, we've had experience crossing cultures as going from America and coming to Europe, and then going from different countries in Europe. But how has it been for you as a coach to have to cross cultures, going from France to the US, and probably also dealing with different cultures within France on your own team? What are some of the challenges that are a little different for a coach compared to a player?
um, it was a culture shock first when I arrived in the States. Everything was more, it was louder. It was more based on analytics than France, actually. More based on a lot of people in the coaching staff with smaller responsibilities, but also more respected responsibilities. So I was used to work in staff of 3 4 person, and just like that, you double or you triple the amount of person in the coaching staff, and you feel like you don't have a lot of things to do compared to before. but you also feel that if you're not specialized or really on point on what you got to do, then it doesn't match the expectation. So to me, that was demanding in that way, also because it was not my language. So I had to adjust to that too. Clearly, that was a big adjustment at the beginning. I was dead at 3 p.m. I was in my bed because I was exhausted by the whole focus I needed the first months, um, and after, I felt like the way in France, they taught me coaching, it was about X's and O's way much more, like way much more than managing people or leadership, like Julie was talking about. And when I arrived over there, they really showed me that no, X's and O's is not that important. It's more about how we treat people, how we put people together, how we work, the intensity, the noise, and everything. And yeah, that was a culture shock for me, but very, very helpful.
Got you. Did you know English before you left? You
Yeah.
knew a little bit, or just
No, I could speak English, but of course, nothing compared to now where I can have those kind of conversation. Um, but the first month over there, like one person in the coaching staff was on purpose talking super fast and with some slang stuff, so I could not understand because she was mad at me because I was French. So
that's crazy.
like we of course this is not racism because it's
Yeah,
just not racism. I'm white, but it's not welcoming somebody. you
right.
know and I know some foreigners when they arrive in Europe is kind of the same feeling in some different things. So that also helped me understand how hard it is as a foreigner to come play in Europe, with the language barrier and just acceptation sometimes. And like I know for US players, the biggest challenges are about the food, the sleep. I mean, because it's a time difference and they struggle to sleep
Hmm.
sometimes, which has an impact on their performance. And if you want to have a long and successful career, you must learn how to eat healthy and not the food from the
Yeah,
States. No offense, but you see what I mean. You played overseas.
yeah,
And the sleep, because a lot of US players, they're going to bed at 2 3 a.m., which is not.
yeah. They don't adjust. They don't accept the new reality. The food part for me wasn't hard because I love food and I was curious. So and I was blessed. I mean, everywhere I played had good food. I spent time in Italy, of course, France, Spain. Is good food, but some Americans definitely still don't like that food, for example. So that's just I was just different in that regard. I never had that issue, and then I was fine to adjust and start living my life where I was gonna be. I wasn't like
Yeah.
thinking about going home, but I do understand it's something that you have to embrace the change, which is easy said than done. Um, I will say
And
the stigma piece of Black Americans, which over the years, I've seen why it's so. I've built relationships with certain coaches that I'm really, I'm cool with that will tell me stories about players, male players also, and the things that happen. And it's like, I will say I've learned that it's been a battle of defending myself as a Black American, to offset a stigma that has been kind of spread around who the Black American athlete is, and having to kind of be the one to be like, that's not how we all are. That's not who I am. Which I would say that was my experience of learning that at first I didn't know that stigma was there. And
yeah,
over time of just being in spaces with people where they felt more comfortable to tell me how they really felt. And because they also wanted to tell me they felt differently about me, I realized that that was something. If the person doesn't know you, you kind of get a stigma put on you in that regard. So that was something I learned for as being an African American Black athlete. of there are stigmas that coaches might automatically be like, I'm not signing that particular nationality because of their past experiences.
Do you feel that in your teams in Europe, people were interested in knowing you as a person before the basketball player?
My teammates, I think not totally. I think because I came and wanted to know them, then in return they started to want to know me. And that it just depended on the team of the dynamic. Like the time I came to Lyon, I mean, they were huge, big name. A lot of big people names there, and I didn't have a lot of time, so it was harder to try to like find my way. It depends on the team. But I think it was because I was open to learn and show that I wanted to know them and their culture that they then opened up, I think, to want to learn more about me. If not, it was that assumption of like debunking assumptions. So, oh, you're going to come with us to have this food? You're a Black American. Black Americans don't do that. Well, I do that. Like, oh, you're going to do that? Yeah, I will. Okay. Black Americans don't do that, Jori. Well, I do that, so it's kind of like that's how it kind of happens. And then I played for a number of more time, people talk and you start to be like, well, it's a little different as you meet older European players. They understand as well that not everyone is the same. But I will say it required me to be open to make it a safe space, I guess, for my European teammates to feel like they could get to know me better.
Okay. All right.
I don't know what happened to Julie. She'll come back. She says she lost service.
There's something.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
there's something else about that adjustment. I'm just thinking about. I felt like in the States, a lot of things are based on repetition. So it has good and bad impacts. Where in Europe, it's not so. I mean, in Western Europe, like France, Spain, maybe Italy, it's not really based on repetition. It's more based on reading. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I've seen American players coming and be surprised that yeah, you have to read straight what the defense is showing you and have an answer for that, where you just spend the last 4, 5, 6 years in college or high school on repetition, repeat the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard.
It's difficult. But also, I'll say, like last season with Baxi, I got in trouble for reading. Like, I was in trouble all the time for just straight, oh, run this drag screen quick because they just did this. And it was like, no, we want to run 3 in the Princeton. That's what we're running. That's it, And so it's like it also is being adaptable overseas,
But in
like
the same time, your half court game was based on reading. Like the Princeton offense was, I feel like it was really, yeah, you guys read really well on half court.
I mean, sometimes it was reading, but he called every play. He
Okay,
called.
every option.
If you ever look at, which I won't give away Lino secrets, but if
No,
you
but
look at the sideline, Lino is the point guard. If you look, the point guard looks at him every action,
okay,
unless it's a fast break. So if he says we're running this for Claire, we're running it. Now Claire has the ability. She has the freedom to read.
yep. But you
So
see,
the
like for
cuts and
example,
stuff happening, of course, yeah, we read and we can
yeah,
play off of it. But in some cases, like quick reads, there's cases where you don't get that freedom in a
okay.
sense. So
Well,
it's
my
a
feeling
mix.
was that when the ball was, for example, ball was in the post up, and you guys had the back screen, for the wing players, but they were inverted that screen. Like you guys were inverted that screen when the defense was dropping, and
Hmm.
to me that's reads. And I
Sometimes
was
it was a
it was
call.
hard to beat. That's why we really that's one of the reasons why we struggled over there
Yeah,
in
sometimes
your
it was a call, but yes, of also it definitely was reads in many cases, but structured reads. And yeah, I think in some cases it could be difficult, and also in that system, typical American, you can't put dribble as much. Like it's not ISO game; it's collective game. So can you play in that type of system? All of those things is an adjustment of do you match that type playing style.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think it's definitely something that is interesting, and everybody has a different playing style. You know, like Spain, France, Italy is a different playing style from different countries, and then you have different coaches. Go ahead, you were going to say something.
No, go.
Ah, um, the last one was more so the definition of talent. Like, how has your definition of talent evolved over time? Like, beyond stats, was it stats in the beginning? You know, how has it changed far as what you believe talent is? Or is it the same?
No, to me, talent has nothing to see with stats. For a reason is that it's an unlimited ways to have talent. You can be talented in your human relationships. You can be talented in shooting threes. You can be talented in drawing fouls. You can be talented on offensive rebound. You can be talented on a lot of things. My definition of talent is you have one specific thing that very few players have. That's my definition of talent. So, and it can be anything. Like if we take Julie, for example, I mean, she has a special talent. Like she'll find a way, no matter where you put her, any position, any coach, and she'll find a way. Like that's a talent. And I'm not even talking about shooting or rebounding, whatever. No, this talent. And I have Sarah Scalia this year in the team. She has one specific talent is the threes, and it's a very few players able to do what she does. And yeah, that's it. And some players, their talent is that they're hard worker. They gonna work harder than anybody else, and at the end of the day, they'll do something with that, even if
Right,
they at the beginning cannot shoot the ball, don't understand nothing, and and are small. But if they work way much more than others, they'll find a way to exist in that
right.
level.
Got you. Um, we can shift to the trust and like the player agent coach triangle as we call it. I feel like it's those are the core players when it's decision time, open market time, transfer portal time. It's the coach, the player, and the agent. And the first thing more so is like when you're recruiting, who do you actually trust to validate the player's value? The agent, other players, or your peers? And if you can rank them one through three.
But definitely, yeah. But three is agents clearly because they have an interest in that deal, so you cannot trust them uh, fully just because they have an interest. That to me, that's the main thing. And I've seen too many agents lying obviously about players, like obviously, like crazy. Yes, this player is so good on. She's a great shooter, and you watch and she can't shoot the ball. So some agents they don't know their players. The player they're selling, they don't know them. They maybe spoke to them once only. They never met them in person. They don't know their game. They never watch them. Like this is a truth. Like for real. So the main players, the main people I would trust are the other players, the former teammates. I would say former teammates because also coaches can have an interest in it because they maybe want you to sign bad players. So they'll tell you what they want, for them for you to sign a bad player. You see what I mean? Yeah, I'm taking
Yeah,
the extreme
which
case,
is
you know.
crazy. I've never heard that one yet. I've never heard
Yeah,
coaches
but
recommending players like, yeah, go get her.
that happened to me. That happened to me
Wow.
because once, and I'm not gonna give name, but once I called a former coach, you know, and he was telling me a lot of great thing about a person, you know, about a player. And when I signed her, I realized that everything he was telling me was wrong. So yeah, so no, the number one, former teammates, they have no interest.
Yeah. I mean, the core thing for us with that being number one, which of course now me and Julie gonna talk all day. Like, see, we knew it. How do we? I mean, it's hard too because sometimes you don't, as a player, you're also. It's harder for a player to say what they feel about a player because they also not sure if the coach is gonna make the right decision based on what they actually need compared to what they say. But I do think like it's kind of like endorsement recommendations from player to player of really knowing the reality of what the player does. But I guess from your experience, do you always have a player that you can talk to? And is it just peers in general, or is more so a specific type of player you call to know the reality of a player you're looking into?
Well, first, if you do your job as far as scouting, then you know how the player is as a basketball player. Like on the court, it's easy to see, because some players, most of the time, when you're asking them question about the previous seasons, etc., they are telling you, yeah, when it was good, yeah, it was good. When it was not great, they were telling, yeah, but you know, in that system, with that coach, with that injury, da 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 da. Da. Okay, but I've been coaching for 20 years now. I know, I can recognize. Is it because of the plays? Is it because of the coaching style? Is it because no, or is it just because of you? You know, that you have this good or bad side in your game. You know, so if you do your job, the basketball part, you can see it. Not 100%, because it's true that there are some adjustment and a player can look different with different coaches. But no, when I'm talking to former teammates, it's just about, or players, it's just about how the person is as a human being. That's the main thing. It's the only thing I want to know. How she has, is she gonna help my chemistry in the locker room, or is she gonna destroy the locker room? You know, it's one of the most important thing. And sometimes you don't have. Sometimes you have to sign a player without really knowing anybody that play with her or whatever. So you
Mm-hmm.
take a bet.
So how often do you already know the players that you want and you just deal with the agent because it's the mid, like how often do you sign a player that an agent presents to you versus you knowing exactly who you want and you just have to figure out if it aligns with the budget?
No, I would say 80% uh, with the agents, and 20% I know who I want.
Okay.
So
So
I need agencies.
mhm.
We all need agencies. Yeah.
So what is your process when you're building that roster? Like what do you do as your first steps, and then how many agents are you reaching out to? How are you communicating how you're building your team and what you need?
So the first step, the very first step, is to know how much money you have. Like that's the very first step. So I'm trying to talk to the people that are responsible in that, and to kind of have, if it's not the exact amount, to just have an idea of the money you have. That's the first thing. The second step is who, considering that money, who you want to keep in the team, who can you keep, because some players, sometimes you want to keep them, but because of money, then you cannot. And who's going to leave for sure. And so after you have a list of players, sometimes it's a long list, sometimes it's a short list for a lot of reasons. I can give you an example without numbers, but this season in ASVEL, between last year and this year, we decreased 30% the budget. You know, so of course with 30% less, it's not a lot of players you can trying to keep or make an offer to, because it's just different. And so that's the second step, knowing who you want to guard. And then after, it's talking to agents and start scouting and targeting players, and eventually talking to players also. So usually that part is around, I would say, January, maybe around that. In January, February, because France is really early. And there is no limit to me. There is no limit in the agents you talk to. A lot of agents are reaching out to us through email, phone, social medias a lot. Some agents every year, some agents that I never knew before. It's a lot of new agents coming with or without a diploma or license. I don't know, but they're reaching out. And there are some agents that I'm not working with. Like, it's two agents for me personally. It's two agents that I'm not working with, just because I never trust them. I don't like the way they work. I don't like the way they talk, and yeah, so I don't want to deal with them. They could have a good player. I could potentially tell the player, okay, listen, I'm not working with this agent. So if you really want to work with us, then it's without him. Um,
We gonna
and
drop those
after,
names on here or no?
no, I don't, no,
Had to
I don't
try.
do
Had
that.
to try.
But people can reach out to me if they want, and I'll
Yeah.
give them. But so yeah, and after, once you have list of players, then i trying to I trying to see, like, okay, players that I kept, players that I could sign. Okay, how does it match the budget, and what are the priorities, and then you go with priorities. So if my priority is this player, then I got to make sure I sign her. And then my priority number two, to move on with the number three, number four, and number five. So that's how I work. That's how I work. But every time before I sign somebody, I have this long conversation with the person to, like I said earlier, trying to have a feel of what they want to do and how they're working and their mindset, etc.
Gotcha.
From a player perspective, if they're trying to, I mean, again, some agents, I would assume, some send their list. Some maybe come and have specific players. They're like, these three I think are good for you. From your experience, what do you see mostly happening? Is it like they send you a list of the position that you've asked for? And what percentage of agents come with curated from their list? I think these athletes in the point guard position are a good option.
Mm, I think it's about between 60-70% of agents are sending you the whole list or the link of their website where all the players are on it. And maybe 25 30%, let's say 30%, are just asking you, okay, what do you need? And I'll say, I don't know, I need position 2, for example, and they'll send me a list of position 2 in the budget. They're very often asking for the budget first, so we kind of give them an idea of the budget, and they go with that, and they send me a shorter list. But it's not the majority of agents. Majority, they just the whole list, and after you have to ask, okay, I like this player, what would be the salary, you know, and that. So it's a longer process.
If you could create the process yourself, like what is the flow that would be the easiest and most efficient for a coach to do?
If I can choose whatever process I want,
Yes.
it's the easiest one would be to go on a website or an app, and to have a list of players with the salary they're asking for, or an idea, it could be between this and that, or and also the side things, like car, food, apartment, what type of apartment, type 2, type 3, type 10, flights, how many flights, like what the player wants, and the contact of the player. And so like that, it's just like you go on. It's kind of horrible what I'm gonna say, but it's what I think. So you go to Carrefour or Lidl or Leclerc on the website. This is a supermarket in France,
Hmm.
and you see the whole list of of everything you can buy with the price, and then you click on it, you add to the cart, you know. And well, if I could see a player, I like it. I like the highlights that I see. I like what she's asking for. I have the contact. I can reach out to her, and then if the conversation goes well, and then we find a deal, it's great. And for the legal aspect of it, then we just go through something like legal. So maybe maybe an agent or a lawyer or something, you know. That would be my ideal thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of these websites technically exist. The oldest one, Athlinda, was a former Greek player. There's Sport IW, which is a French group of French founders. There's a number of them. My question is, these things have been out there, being the LinkedIn of sports, all of this. As a coach, why haven't you used those? What's missing from those spaces that exist that
Communication. Communication. Like, I don't know them. I don't know those websites.
yeah.
Even if it's the ideal process that I would like to have, then I don't know them.
Yeah. And then also I would assume not having players that come from LA Fitness that can create a profile is also the part, because they do let anyone create a profile. So I would assume you will want some structure of what level of athlete is actually on the platform.
That, yeah, but you can see it with the stats, for example. Uh, you can, yeah, you can see what the background of the player is.
How
Gotcha.
many agents do you think you end up talking to build a season's roster?
Around like around 40, around
That's
40.
crazy.
Yeah.
But
All of them
sometimes,
sign like
sometimes it just
four, five, six players, no?
what?
In the end, typically you sign four, five, six players, more or less.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
6 players maybe with maybe 6 different agents. But sometimes it just I receive a text with a list of 5 players, an agent that I don't know, and I'm looking at it and no thanks, thank you, no. But this is another agent I talk to, but it
Hmm.
was a short conversation though.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Based
it's
on, go ahead.
like the like I see the agent's job as, first they have a legal aspect, so about contracts and everything. Well, so this I respect that, and yeah, I see another part for the agent's responsibility is to be to give advices to the players, to the coach, to really be involved in that relation and make everything to make it work. And also the third part is for that agent to match the expectation of the coach, so be able to find the players, like recruit some good players, and also making sure that this agent is giving you, offering you players that are gonna be good for you, you know. So there is a basketball thing, a human thing, and a legal thing, I would say. But the problem of a majority, but a big majority of agents, is that the human thing, they just don't do their job, and that's it. So they don't give any advice to their players. They don't want to deal with the problems. So that's a
Do you
problem.
think there are a solid amount of agents that understand the talent they have, far as understanding their player? I know you said some agents don't even watch their player games, but how many agents do you feel actually understand the type of player they have? What are the positives and negatives of the player's game?
I think a
Um,
big I think a big majority of agents understand their players at the end of the day, but sometimes they just lie about it because they just want to make money. And they're gonna sell money. They're gonna sell money. They're gonna sell players to clubs, and they're gonna say, "Yeah, this player is good for you. She's able to do this, da 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 da," but they know it's not true.
mhm. And over time, let's say if for some reason this agency continues to get quality players, but they gonna say what they need to say, and it's probably not the best for your team year after year. What happens is from the coach's perspective on in that regard, you just have to choose if you're gonna work with them or not.
Oh, I just never listened to any basketball opinion from an agent because I
Got it.
don't trust it. So I want to watch the games to really have my own opinion about the player. I want to listen to former teammates to have my opinion about how the person is. And for the legal aspect, yes, we work with agents. But that's so I don't want to put everybody in the same bag, because it's some agents that I'm listening to and respect, but it's not the majority.
Got it. Do from the whole transaction between the agent coach, usually from my perspective, I've in the beginning of my journey of trying to understand this business, um, I actually asked the coach a while back, like, would you talk direct to players? And he was like, no. From your perspective, why do you think some coaches don't want to talk direct to players? Is it just because lack of understanding the business? Um, what would be the reason for not wanting to speak directly to an athlete?
The main reason is about the negotiation part. Like, you don't want your relation that is a brand new relation between coach and players be I don't have the word, but I don't have the word, sorry, but you want to keep it clean without talking about money, about advantage, about all the contract details. I think that's the main reason. If I'm talking to your agent, then I don't have to talk to you about the things that where we would disagree on, maybe.
Got it. You don't want to tarnish that natural player coach relationship talking too
That's
much
it.
about money, how much I'm worth, and that makes
Yeah,
sense. That's
yeah. It's
understandable
the
for
main
sure.
one, and honestly, I think it's the only reason. I don't see no other reason
Is
because
it more? Go
hmm?
ahead.
No,
Go
if
ahead.
it was not this negotiation aspect in the relationship, um, I think you can talk about anything with the players, like the responsibility should have, the role, the length of the project, the playing style, injuries. You can talk about anything, I think.
Do you think it's more difficult to manage the relationship with somebody's parent versus agent, or is it just dependent on the situation?
I think it's more difficult to manage with the parents because the emotional part is involved, adding to everything else. So yeah, I think it's not good.
Mm. Yeah.
Heard a lot about that. From your perspective, um, again, I think like we talked about before, players we have our thoughts of what we feel. Coaches have their side. Agents have their side. In the perfect world, we all should understand each other's side. It's like society. We all should get together and talk to one another, and maybe it might be clearer. But from your perspective, knowing what you know about the industry and agents in general and the stigma they have at this juncture, but what's your advice for players when it pertains to dealing with their managers?
So This is a great topic, great question, and it's in the middle of the whole industry. So the players want the player to be successful. Some players want the team to be successful, but it's rare first, and it's mostly in the second part of your career when you think about winning and everything, you know. But when you start playing professional, you most of the time as a player want you as a player to be successful because you want to have a career, because the contract you sign are more like mostly 1 or 2 years and it's not long. On the other side of it, the coach mostly want the team to be successful. Like, it's cool if you can have both. Like, if you can have only players that are successful and a team that is successful, then it's great. But we know it's hard. We know it's really really hard. And I'm being honest. I prefer my team to be successful than any of the players in the team to be successful individually, because it's a team sport, and then my boss is the club. So I have to make the team successful. And that is the in the middle of the whole relations everywhere. Now, you can find sometimes players that are thinking about team first, and this is like Julie is one of them. Like I've been lucky to coach Julie because Julie is thinking about team first, you know. And you can think about coaches that want players to be successful. And that's bringing something else to the conversation. If a coach is tough on players, it's not because he's an asshole most of the time. It's just because he wants the player to be successful. And me as a coach, I want players to be successful because I feel like it's gonna be helping the team to be successful. So that's my way of thinking, you know. But if you're hard on a young player, if you're really pushing and demanding and everything, so she can be successful in 1 month or 1 year or 3 years, then she can feel that I'm against her, you know, in some kind of way, because I'm trying to change her, because I'm pushing her, etc. And so that's the that's the base of a lot of things in a relation, I feel like. And I don't remember what the question was, but like
No, it was, yeah, it was more so. I mean, to piggyback off what you said, I think it's true that for sometimes you want to be successful, which the team is supposed to be successful, but it's also like that's for as a player. I always say like, how do you do that in this market? Because the players
I
that
agree.
score are the ones that get hired despite not being the best fit for a team. Whereas, okay, you could have averaged only 9 or something on a team that was successful, reached their goals, surpassed their goals, great. But then the next time you go to sign, it's like, oh, she only scored that. It doesn't matter. So it's like,
Yeah,
how, it's hard to say that, but then the reality of who gets hired is not that per se.
I agree. And that's why it creates like this thing creates a lot of misunderstanding everywhere. But um, when I sign a player, and I don't know about other coaches, so I can only talk about myself. But I don't think I'm the only one. I think we're a lot in this situation. I'm watching at the percentages. I'm watching out the shot selections, the defense. You know, I never watch at the the point per game by itself. It doesn't mean anything, you know. And I feel like coaches in successful team and good leagues, they look at the efficiency of the player. Is a player is turnover prone, or is she able to be efficient without turning the ball over? You know, and is she defending? What's her defensive rating on Instat? Is it 100 or is it 70? Because it's different. And this thing has nothing to see with the point per game, you know. And a lot of players in that market, they're thinking about points per game. So yeah, they're gonna get jobs here and there because yeah, but are they gonna be in a successful program? Are they gonna win titles? You know. So that's the
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah, but in the
And
women game, how many Leon's, Valencia's, Olympiacos's. That's also the hard part, because like, how many of those programs do we really have in women's basketball in Europe with the quality people that think the way you think?
I
Um,
I don't know, but if a player wants to be successful, it's sometimes way better to accept for 2 years um, a contract that is not great, but in a good league where you can show that you can be efficient, you can defend, you can take care of the ball, and you can make some good reads, even if you only score 8 points per game. Because if you do that, then your value will really go up to the eyes of good programs and good teams. I think so. Then going to Romania, no offense to Romania though, but and score 20 with 36% shooting. Mm.
yeah, it's difficult. Um, the question before that was more so just, what would be, from a coaching perspective, and how you've engaged with agents in the business of trying to hire and acquire athletes. What is your advice for an athlete? I guess your daughter, if and they were at a step where they now are talented. Obviously, if you didn't have the connections you had, because you could totally connect her in that way.
Yeah.
But what would be the steps you feel you would take, knowing what you know about the industry, to help your daughter navigate the space?
Well, the first thing is, ta- if you want to take an agent, then take an agent. Like, no problem. But ask your agent first to come visit you, to tell you what he or she thinks about your game. And is this person, this agent, able to tell you truth about your game? Because if it's not the case, if this person doesn't want to come visit you at least once to see each other in person, is not able to tell you what you think about the your game, and is not telling you what you got to improve on, then don't work with this agent, because there's going to be problems. So that's my first thing about agents. And now if you have an agent able to tell you that, then oh, it's a good sign. Maybe you should listen, and maybe you should work with this person. That's the first thing. The second thing is, make sure before you sign anywhere that you have a conversation with the coach where you can ask your questions, because I've seen so many, Jory, so many interviews with players where they don't have not even one question. Like, I don't know how this is possible. They don't even have one question. So that means you're going to spend a whole season somewhere where you don't really know how it's going to be. But that's your career. It's important. You have to know how we practice, where, why, what you want to do, how you want to use me, how you want to talk to me, what type of video work or analytics are you doing it? Are you big on that or not big on that? Because if I don't give a shit about that and you talk to me about that every day, then it's not going to be good for me. Like, who are going to be my teammates? Like, people are never, like, it's rare that players are asking me rarely who are they going to play with. It's important to me. So yeah, that would be my second advice. Like, make sure you talk to your coach and you know everything before signing, because after it's going to create problems. You're going to be locked with the contract. You're going to be sad. You're going to have bad stats or bad performances, which is going to have an impact on your career continuity. And then the third advice is, make sure you watch games of the league before you come, because a lot of players, they come in, they have no clue about how the game is played in that league. Where is it physical? Is it tactical? Is it quick, or I mean fast or not? And you have to know where you go. And after, the fourth advice is, how is your professionalism, as far as do you sleep well? Do you take care of your body? Do you eat well? Do you drink well? Like, do you work out? Are you strong enough? Like, all those things that are really, really, really important. If you go somewhere where it's demanding and you're not professional enough, then you're going to struggle. and you have to know that. Maybe you're going to enjoy yourself, and maybe this is going to have an impact on your career also. So yes, and the fifth thing is start learning some words. If you go in Italy, start learning Italian. Nobody's asking you to be fluent in Italian, of course, but if you can pick up some words here and there, then that will help you, definitely help you connecting with people and understanding when they talk about you behind your back, maybe. Oh, I'm not saying everybody's doing that, but you see what I mean. And
It happens.
so yeah, so that would be all my advice, and maybe some others, but that the main ones. And because I've seen too many situations, too many players not understanding this thing.
Hmm. With the wave of NIL, rev share, I guess we'll say, um, and all of, I mean, now a lot of young Europeans that usually would stay, go on teams, come off the bench, develop, are just now going to college. Um, how do you think this is going to impact FIBA Europe? NBA is coming. There's another league outside of Unrivaled, Project B, potentially going to come up, which will be another alternative league that players can go to. Um, what do you think is going to potentially happen? Do you think is going to make European basketball leadership elevate and get more innovative of brand deal sponsorship to be able to pay players more? Or you think it's just going to become locking them in other ways at a young age to not be able to leave? Like, what do you think is going to happen with this new NIL era?
So all all that is happening is good for basketball. Everything is good. It's just find ways to figure it out, but it's good. Like now we have young ladies that can go play in NCAA and make money and secure their future and be like build a bag to invest in some things. Like this is good. This is good. It lets some room for young European players to have spots that they would not have if everybody was staying in Europe. So that will help other players to grow in Europe also. So this is good. It forces French and European coaches to be better, to find solutions in the way they play, So that's good because it's making us work harder on finding solutions. So it's good offensively and defensively. Um, the only thing is that we won't have the WNBA main players anymore in Europe, and we have to accept that. They will not come because there's not enough money. But that will let more space for European players to take leadership roles where it was due to, I mean, it was given to the US players before, but now it's European that has to take those roles. So it's good also for world basketball because teams, and we can see it with the French national team in losing by 1 or 2 points in Olympics, but Spain will be there. We see Germany is there now. We see even I like the way Czech Republic is like Lithuania. They're also there. So that is good. It's just a lot of good things happening, but it's a lot of new things. So people are scared about new things. That's human nature, but everything is good for the world basketball right now.
Got you. With
Sorry, the main problem is, and I'm not gonna make friends, but the NCAA coaches have to step up, like really step up, because what they show is poor basketball, and there is no development, like game strategy, game reads, speed, aggressiveness, etc., like principles and fundamentals. It's poor right now, but it's due to two things: the fact that players can move from a college to another. It's
Mhm.
not helping the NCAA coaches because they want to keep players and they want to recruit players. So they also want to please players, which is not always good to make them improve. That's the one thing. And the referees are so bad that when they come play professionally, they have to adjust and they discover that, oh shit, it's physical here. Yes, because in NCAA you cannot touch a player, and it's not helping your improvement. It's helping you to score maybe, but against no defense, you know. So yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. I think there are a number of people that have pointed out the lack of development, even at the grassroots level in America. It's become where they're playing a lot of games at the EYBLs and all of these tournaments, but yet they're not spending time developing and really learning what they need to learn as a foundation. And then with the transfer portal, even in that regard, if schools are taking players from other schools and they're not really going to recruit at the young age anymore, that means now those young athletes aren't getting those scholarships and they're having to start at a different stage than they would have. So a lot is changing. But I think maybe on the world stage, the global stage, as you see France only losing by 1 point to the US, is going to kind of possibly expose the need for those in the States to reevaluate how the talent is being curated. Also in the NBA, it's the past 2 top draft picks were French. So it's just like, is the US still the powerhouse of talent? I mean, obviously produce a lot of talent, still play a lot of basketball, but is it the best talent? And I think all of those things will be revealed in time, which is
Well, what's helping the States is there are 350 colleges in NCAA first division. So the volume is so big that you will always have good players. But I've seen so many. I mean, my first year in WNBA was 2019, and since that, I'm really following every draft and everything, of course. And I've seen so many college superstar coming off at the draft, and people are wondering, but why she's not playing? Because she doesn't have the level. She can score 20 points per game in NCAA, even in the big conference, whatever. She just can't play in the league because it's just so competitive. It's not a gap. It's so big, the difference between NCAA and WNBA. And yeah.
No, for sure. Julie, you have anything else?
I think we touched on it, and we stole an hour and a half of this man's life away from his daughter and family. So
They're in vacation. They're not with me, so we're cool. You didn't hear them, so.
Nice. No, I appreciate it, Yoann. Definitely giving us insight. Of course, if there's anything else you feel on your heart that you feel athletes should know from your perspective.
Well, yeah, they have to follow your path, because I've been lucky to work with you two guys, and it was a blessing, because your mindset is different. You know, your mindset is based on the team, on feeling good and doing the right thing, and like, this is important to follow your example.
Thank you for the marketing PR right there. We're
All
gonna
right.
put that one on IG. For sure. But no, I appreciate it. Thank you for the time. And I guess for anyone that wants to follow along, I know you have a podcast as well. Where can, if anyone want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Since the head coach of ASVEL, I'm not doing the podcast anymore, because it's yeah. I'll come back to that later. I'll
Okay.
come back to that later. But
Right.
they can find me on Instagram, and that's cool.
Got you. No, I appreciate it. And of course, best of luck the rest of the season. And yeah, until the next time.
Thank you very much, and best of luck for you too.
Thank you. Too.
I guess I gotta do it on myself.